Today, I'm uncovering why the war on drugs is America's greatest failure. What if I told you that a policy meant to protect us is actually causing more harm than good? What's the real story behind these decades-long efforts? Why is it all one big lie that we've all been forced to accept? Stick with me and you'll discover hidden truths that could change how you view substance use and mental health forever, as well as the American government. And I'll share a solution that might just be the key to turning things around. I'm diving deep into the history, the hidden agendas, and the shocking statistics of the war on drugs. From its roots in racism and classism to its impact on today's escalating drug overdose crisis, I'm revealing it all. And who am I? My name is Dr. Salman Aziz Mirza, triple board certified in adult psychiatry, child and adolescent psychiatry, and addiction medicine, and I've spent countless hours researching, interviewing experts, and analyzing the data to bring you this breakdown. Your understanding of the topic will never be the same after today. The story of the war on drugs is a tale of intentions, impacts, and the hidden truths that lie beneath. Let's start at the beginning. In the 1970s, the United States was facing a myriad of social and political challenges. It was a time marked by civil rights movements, anti-war protests, and a growing counterculture. There was a fear of losing, quote-unquote, traditional values. The Nixon administration, seeking to address the growing drug crisis, launched what was known as the War on Drugs. Initially, it seemed like a straightforward campaign. Tough on crime, tough on drugs. But let's peel back the layers. Was it just about drugs? Or was there something deeper, more insidious at play? As we delve deeper, we find that the war on drugs quickly became entangled with issues of race and class. This wasn't just a policy, it was a mechanism that disproportionately affected Black and Brown and low-income communities. Consider figures like John Ehrlichman, a top Nixon aide who later admitted that the drug war was heavily politicized, targeting anti-war protesters and Black people. Policies such as the Rockefeller drug laws introduced in New York set the stage for harsh penalties that disproportionately impacted minority communities. These laws didn't just create a system of punishment, but fostered an environment of fear and suppression. Consider this. Statistics show that while drug usage rates are selectively similar across racial and socioeconomic groups, the incarceration rates for drug offenses are staggeringly higher in Black and Latinx communities. Why is this discrepancy so stark? What does it tell us about the true nature of these policies? The answer lies in the fine print of policies and enforcement practices. From mandatory minimum sentences, a policy originally aimed at curbing drug trafficking, but ended up filling prisons with nonviolent offenders, with most of whom were from these minority groups, to targeted police strategies, the war on drugs began to paint a clear picture of racial and classist bias. This wasn't just a war on drugs, it was a war that perpetuated cycles of poverty, stigmatization, and systemic inequality. In recent years, a shadow has been growing across America, one that's been claiming more lives year after year. This shadow is the rising tide of overdose deaths, a crisis that's not just a statistic, but a series of personal tragedies affecting families and communities nationwide. But what's driving this alarming increase in overdose deaths? Is it just the availability of drugs, or is there a deeper, more systemic issue at play? Consider this. In the last 2 decades, overdose deaths have more than quintupled. Yes, you heard that right, more than 5 times as many. Each number in this staggering statistic is a life lost, a potential unfulfilled. Now, let's connect the dots back to the war on drugs. You might be wondering, how does policy aimed at reducing drug use lead to a spike in drug overdoses? It seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? Well, the answer lies in the approach. The war on drugs focuses heavily on criminalization and punishment rather than prevention and treatment. This hardline stance that drugs are bad and bad equals jail leaves little room for effective addiction treatment and harm reduction strategies, creating a perfect storm for the overdose crisis we see today. But how does the criminalization of drugs connect to the soaring overdose deaths? It's not just a correlation, it's a causation that is complex and multi-layered. When we criminalize drug use, we push it into the shadows, making it riskier and more dangerous. It's a world where purity is unknown and safety is a gamble. Imagine the life of a person who uses drugs navigating this criminalized landscape. Fear of legal repercussions drives them away from seeking help or using in safer conditions. The secrecy and stigma lead to riskier use, using alone, hurried consumption, and a lack of access to life-saving information or resources like naloxone, more commonly known as Narcan. And let's talk about the drugs themselves. As law enforcement intensifies its crackdown on substances like heroin, for example, the market adapts in a deadly way. Heroin, already potentially dangerous in its own right, is increasingly being replaced by something even more lethal, fentanyl. Fentanyl is cheaper, more potent, far more unpredictable. The shift isn't about user preference, it's about supply and survival in a market governed by criminalization. And what happens when there's no safe supply? Users are left at the mercy of an unregulated, clandestine market. Here, every use could be their last. Without regulation, there's no quality control. Without quality control, overdoses skyrocket. This isn't a side effect of the war on drugs. It's a direct outcome of a system that punches rather than helps, that hides rather than heals. The harsh reality is that the war on drugs didn't just fail to stop drug misuse, it inadvertently fueled the overdose crisis. By marginalizing the very people it aimed to help and neglecting the power of compassionate, evidence-based treatment, we've ended up with a situation that's worse than where we started. So, what exactly is harm reduction? It's a term that's been thrown around, but not everyone knows its true meaning or its significance. Harm reduction focuses on minimizing the negative health, social, and legal impacts associated with drug use. It's not about endorsing drug use, it's about acknowledging its reality and finding ways to reduce its harm. But how does this differ from the traditional, punitive drug policies we've known for decades? The traditional approach to drug policy has largely been about prohibition and punishment. Think of the classic Just Say No campaigns or attending DARE as part of your curriculum in elementary or middle school. I actually won the DARE essay contest in 5th grade, and I have a medal at my parents' house for it. Anyways, back to the script. This method often overlooks the complexities of addiction and can lead to stigmatization and marginalization of people who use drugs. In contrast, harm reduction adopts a more humane and practical stance. It understands that while drug use might not be eliminated, its harmful effects, primarily drug overdose deaths, can be significantly reduced. Let's look at some real-world examples. Countries like Portugal and Switzerland have implemented harm reduction strategies with remarkable success. Portugal decriminalized all drugs in 2001 and shifted its focus to treatment and harm reduction. The results? A dramatic decrease in the number of drug-related deaths and HIV transmission rates, as well as a significant decrease in people who are imprisoned. Switzerland has successfully run heroin-assisted treatment programs, providing controlled doses of heroin in safe environments to chronic users, which has led to reduced crime rates and improved health outcomes. So, what does this all mean for the war on drugs and our approach to drug policy? It means that there's another path, one that doesn't just fight a war, but seeks to heal its wounds. Harm reduction offers a ray of hope, showing us that with compassion, understanding, and evidence-based strategies, we can make a real difference in the lives of those affected by substance use. This is more than just an alternative approach, it's a necessary evolution in our fight against the drug crisis. If you want to learn more on harm reduction and hear a moving personal account of its impacts, check out my interview with Stephen Murray, who helps run the Massachusetts Overdose Prevention Hotline via the card above. That was one of my favorite conversations, and the both of us could hardly shut up about something that we were both so passionate about. As we come to the end of this discussion on the war on drugs, it's clear that this is more than just a policy issue. It's about lives, communities, and the very essence of how we approach health and justice. Now, the question we face is, what can we do about it? The answer lies not just in changing policies, but in transforming our mindset. We need to shift away from this all or nothing thinking that all drugs are bad, and understand and accept that drugs have been a part of our lives since the dawn of time, and that they will continue to be a part of our society. We should address the root cause of substance misuse, including but not limited to the systemic racism and classism that have plagued our society. Working with patients every day, I've seen how closely mental health and substance use are intertwined. Our approach needs to be compassionate, informed, and holistic. And this is where you come in. Your voice matters. Advocate for policy change, support harm reduction approaches, and help spread awareness about these critical issues. It's time to shift the narrative from punishment to help, from stigma to support. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you for joining me in this important conversation. Your engagement doesn't have to end here. I invite you to comment below, share your thoughts, and be a part of this needed conversation and discussion. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share if you found something of use from the video. Let's keep the dialogue going and work towards a future where health, justice, and compassion are at the forefront of our drug policies. Until next time, be safe and be well.